The White House just issued an executive order to implement 3 kinds of foreign drug importation. This isn't like importation where a manufacturer makes a drug in another country and then brings it here. These ideas are all about dipping into another country's drug supplies, which isn't regulated by the FDA, and putting them in American medicine cabinets. The first order directs HHS to grant individual waivers to personally import medicine from Canadian pharmacies registered with HHS. While this executive order specifies individuals as the recipient of waivers, the underlying law shown here says it's also possible that the waivers could be granted by regulation. The underlying law also requires the Secretary to publish guidance about what kinds of situations would qualify for a waiver. Note that there are no limits on this. Importation could be small molecule drugs, biologics, or even medical devices. The second part of the executive order directs the Secretary of HHS to use his powers to bring insulin in from other countries under an authorization that is reserved for emergency medical care. I don't know what Congress meant when they wrote the phrase emergency in this law, but if the U.S. were to start bulk purchasing insulin out of the Canadian drug supply, we would create an emergency situation in Canada. And the final part of the executive order directs HHS to complete the rulemaking started last December so that wholesalers and pharmacists, and by proxy states like Florida, can do bulk imports of medicines from Canada by the pallet load. Now, are these realistic policies? Can we really solve America's issues with healthcare by simply raiding Canada's medicine cabinet? No. Canada's population is 1/9 the size of ours, and they have enormous drug shortages. And they don't make their own medicine, so if they have a shortage, they can't backfill it themselves. In fact, if you were to source 50% of U.S. brand name prescriptions from Canada's drug supply, they would be left empty in 162 days. For 18 years, no head of HHS or FDA under any president, Republican or Democrat, has ever endorsed these ideas, and 5 previous FDA commissioners have come out against it. Law enforcement, patient groups, and healthcare professionals from every province in Canada and all over the U.S. have opposed it, and in meetings both public and private, the Canadian government has told the White House and states like Florida that they are not going along with this. Maine, Illinois, and Minnesota have all tried rogue Canadian drug importation programs, always with disastrous results. Now, the White House is telling states to put precious budget money into these programs anyway. Florida and Colorado have already allocated $11 million and cut things like clean water projects and hepatitis treatment, and that's despite the fact that Canada has told both those states that they're not going to help with it. This is a waste of taxpayer dollars at a time when our money and attention should be focused on the pandemic. It's the wrong idea at the wrong time. So what happens next? A great deal of this is pretty complicated and probably not implementable at least until the end of the year. Around that time, we think the federal government might finalize the draft bulk importation regulations from Canada. And at that point, states will start to burn money trying to set up systems to import medicine from Canada over Canada's objections. If that seems a little nuts to you, you're not alone. Imagine how the Canadians feel right now. But no matter what happens, you can follow all of this on our website at www.safemedicines.org, on our YouTube channel here, or on Twitter. We'll see you soon.